Okay, we went to Kali HaDivar, and it's a Messianic Jewish temple in Lawrenceville, Georgia. You walk in, and the front of it, just the office buildings, are kind of converted into little offices, and then the sanctuary is in the back. And they have the sanctuary fixed up really nice with faux painting on the wall to make it look like a stone wall, and then the backgrounds. And we have a picture of that a little later in the video. We weren't allowed to video inside. There was one man who spoke with us, Eric, and I'm kind of introducing what he said because the video, you can't really hear him very well. The reason we weren't allowed to video is because these are Jewish people who have believed in the Messiah and Jesus as Messiah. And if any of these Jewish people were to want to go to live in Israel, they would be barred from doing so because they believe in the Messiah. So that's an interesting segregation of just about Judaism. Eric, he was very excited about his belief system. He wasn't trying to so much proselytize us as he wanted to educate us, and we really caught on to it because he kept using the word truth. We found the truth. This is the truth. And you know, that's what people are seeking. That's what a lot of people want. That's what everybody wants, really. And so he wanted to justify the truth to us, though. He didn't just want to tell us this is the way to go. He said, look at our language. And so he gave us an example right before we were even out of the vestibule of the Hebrew language. It's a tetragrammaton is what it's called. And so it's hieroglyphics that each of them is a symbol that means something, and then they also have, each letter has a numerical value. And so he was taking what they call God, Yud He, Vav He, Yud He, Vav He. They don't ever say the name God, they just say the name because they don't want to defile themselves or to dishonor God by speaking it. And so he showed us that each letter had, one of them had something to do with a hand, and the other one was a nail. And he said, and so you can see that even in the Judaism, before the Messiah was accepted, it pointed toward the nail-pierced hand of Christ. And by that rationale, that's why they say another reason that they believe in Jesus as the Messiah. So he also used an example of shalom and what that meant. It's very interesting. They have something in the beginning, a minyan. It is 10 men who pray before the congregation has their ceremonies, and they blow the shofar, and we have a picture of a shofar horn. It's a giant ram's horn. Then they blow it before and after, and I think it was in the middle of the ceremony as well. So it's really interesting. And here's Eric talking about the names. Okay, this is Eric.
Hello, nice to see you.
And we are at
Kiryat HaDivar, which is the Word of Fellowship.
Terrific.
In English.
No, go ahead.
And?
In English and? Oh, and it's a Messianic Jewish.
Yes. Oh, is that what you want me to say?
Jewish community.
We're a Messianic Jewish community. All is welcome. Doesn't matter what you believe, what you think. We are here just to worship the one true God and His Son. And everybody's welcome. We dance and we sing and we celebrate. And we just want to see the whole truth. We look at the original Hebrew text. We look at the original Greek the best we can. There's a few different Greeks. And we just sing out the truth and know the Father and the Son.
So some interesting things you were telling us out in the lobby about the Hebrew language and about, let's just say the word Yahweh and the word Shalom.
Okay. God has many titles, but as we know, He has one name that He gave to Moshe or Moses, and that is Yud He Vav He, which is Yehovah, Baruch Hashem. And I say that because when He says, when you speak my name, especially His name, not just His titles, that you should basically bow in reverence. And when you look at His name is basically in English would be a Y, H, a B, and an H. And the hieroglyphics of that is the right hand see it, the nail see it. So we have the Father and the Son, we know there's one, and God's true name is see the nail scar.
And then Shalom. Shalom was very interesting. What you were telling us is that each Hebrew letter, you call them hieroglyphic.
Well, they're like the two hieroglyphics. They were hieroglyphic first, which gave a meaning 13. It's all perfect. I mean, it just makes so much sense. You just have to get numerically ZZ adds up to 613, and his name is on there. It hangs on my phone. It all has meaning. There's nothing that doesn't. It's just that beautiful. There's just so much. We would be here days.
And so who in this congregation wears the prayer shawl?
Most men and women can. It's not like we can't, but usually the men do, because basically just you're carrying the word on your shoulders, and usually it's kind of like, you know, a quiet place. It's usually a quiet place.
And do you reserve your prayer shawl just for being in the congregation, or do you ever wear it out?
Out and I will wear it out and about. It's in my home.
Okay, so...
I mean, if I was to go to be a guest somewhere, I would wear it to teach and wear it. Yes.
Okay, if you were guest speaking on the word.
I would.
Okay.
Okay, it is the beads at the end of the prayer shawl, and it's called ZZ.
And each bead and the fringe combined have a numerical value of 613, which is the number of commandments that God gives them in the Bible. So every time they touch it, it reminds them of those commandments.
Hello, my name is Samantha Crafts, and I had the opportunity to experience a Messianic service at Kaliyat Hadavar in Lawrenceville, Georgia. But I thought it was kind of nice. They had coffee and mingling before dancing and service. And I enjoyed the dancing because I thought it was a fun way to celebrate religion. After the dancing, they had a couple scriptures read, and I thought it was kind of similar to what I grew up with. My family was Roman Catholic, and that's what they did. They had read a couple scriptures, and then the priest would go up there and talk about what they had read, and that's kind of what they did here. But they carried around a Torah after the scriptures were read, and I didn't really know what was going on because I didn't know anything about the Torah and what they were doing. But Eric was walking around with it, and the people, they were pressing their hands on the Torah and then to their lips, and I didn't know what to do. When he came to me, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and he kind of showed me, and I was like, okay. And then after the service, he came over and explained to me and my group members, what the Torah was, and he had said that, when they press their hands on the Torah and to their lips, it's like the word is on their lips and in their heart, and, it stays with them. And I thought that was a really neat concept. But then we were like, well, where did you get the Torah? And he explained to us that it was from Israel, and they had bought it off of eBay. And I was like, oh my gosh, you can find anything on eBay. That's awesome. And so I thought that was pretty cool. But also I found that that even though it was a smaller ceremony, there was maybe 30 or 40 people there. And I don't know whether it was just because it was small or it was just the environment, but most of the churches I went to growing up, they just didn't have that feeling of home. And there they did. They had a sense of family there. Everyone knew each other, and they were really friendly. They welcomed us with open arms. And I think that, in religion and in church, it should be like that. It should be a very homey feeling, and I was happy to be there, even though it wasn't my religion. I felt at home, even though I didn't understand a lot of things. So I mean, he talked in Hebrew too, and even that didn't bother me so much because people, everything was just so welcoming. But I'm glad I had the opportunity to go there.
So we went to a Jewish temple, and it was really kind of cool. It was better than I thought it was going to be. The most surprising thing to me was when I found out that they were Messianic, which I had never heard of. It means that they believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and I didn't know that any Jewish people believed that at all. So actually, it wasn't that different from what I've experienced being a Christian. My favorite thing is that when they do their worship, they actually dance, and even more so that my partner Kay went and danced with them. So that was really fun. They have a lot of focus on the kids. Every week they do a blessing of the children ceremony where all the kids go up to the front, and they have on either side, one of the men comes up and prays for them, each individually. And the only thing that I didn't like so much was a lot of it was in Hebrew, which was kind of confusing, even though it was translated, just to have like a language that I'm not familiar with at all. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and it was a new experience.
So what I really liked about it was, one was the prayer, the dedication, and every single week they dedicate these children to the Lord, which is a really important thing. And the boys and the girls lined up on separate sides of the auditorium, which we thought was planned, but it was spontaneous how they did that. And the bow, and so every time, even in songs, when they would use the name of God, the Yud-Heh, Vah-Heh, or when they would say Baruch, which means praise, they would bend their knees and bow their heads, and bend their knees and bow their heads. And so it was just funny. It was almost like a game when you would see the normal song, bend, bow, bend, bow, bend, bow. And they did it right on cue. Everyone had perfect timing with it. And the reason they do that is, well, to show respect, obviously. But you bow, and you show the back of your neck, and that shows that you are vulnerable to the king, because when you bow before a king, that means that they can cut your head off. So that shows that you trust them.
Okay, it was interesting to attend a Jewish ceremony, and I saw a lot of different things that they performed, and one of the things that stuck out to me the most was their dance and the way they arranged religious songs and musics in between the ceremony. And it was very home feeling, where kids were freely walking around and participating in the meeting and dancing together with other people. And they used both Hebrew and English during the service. And the reason of it is because many English translation of the scripture actually do not fully explain the depth of the Hebrew languages. And they also use the Greek texts along with the Hebrew so that they can have a better understanding of translation during their studies. And the way men and women were dressed was impressive, because men were wearing parasol and a small hat on top of their hats, and some women were wearing a hat covering where it covers your head. And I saw one Korean lady in the ceremony, and it was really like surprising and I guess interesting, because I've never seen like Korean women. Well, I thought they were all like either Christian or they believe in Buddhism, but I saw her and it was really surprising to see her. And overall, I enjoyed the ceremony very much, and
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.